For it says that 6 days shalt thou do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thy ass may rest, the son of thy handmaiden and the stranger may be refreshed, all in one, everyone within shouting distance. In Mark 2:27, and he, Messiah, said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Yahweh didn't change one iota for anyone, or certainly not by whim. Malachi 3:6, for I am Yahweh, and I change not, therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So why, pray tell, would he relax his standards or restrictions upon forms of worship, impure worship, and now allow sun worship and or sun emblems to be associated with his worship? Why indeed? Of course he didn't. Pagan Christians who accept modified, incorporated sun worship and emblems into their forms of worship do something very similar, and they do it to their own hurt, to what these elders did in Ezekiel's time. They disobey Yahweh. Matthew 15:9 and Mark 7:7, twin scriptures. But in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Malachi 4:1, we return. Behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. And that's the only similarity to the sun that I see, because it burns like an oven. And all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And that day cometh, shall burn them up, saith Yahweh of hosts, that it leave them neither root nor branch. Characteristically, here's in other places, the day of Yahweh as shown as a day of darkness and gloom, as it says in Joel 2:2. Continuing on, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. Ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes unto the soles of your feet in that day, that I shall do this, saith Yahweh of hosts. Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send Eliah the prophet before the coming in the dreadful day of Yahweh. He shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. So working backwards, the Old Testament ends with the prevention of a curse, even as conversely the Torah 5-book law ends in death, and certainly the death of Moshe, while the New Covenant ends with renewal and life in the book of Revelations 22. Yeshua said of this passage in Malachi, that he, Eliyahu, refers to Yochanan Immerser, identified in Christianese as John the Baptist. This happened after Messiah's transfiguration on the Mount. And this exchange takes place in Matthew 17, beginning at 9. And as they came down from the mountain, Yahushua charged them, saying, tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man be risen from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, why then say the scribes that Eliah must come first? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Eliah truly shall come first and restore all things, but I say unto you that Eliah is come already, and they knew him not, but they have done unto him whatsoever they listed, likewise also shall the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spoke unto them of John the Baptist. In verse 4 of Malachi chapter 4, Yahweh exhorts to remember the law of Moses, my servant. Odd. perhaps, not my law, but his law, Moses. Man's next revelation to come would perhaps be in the words of the Apostle John in 1:14. The Word was made flesh and dwelled among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace, unmerited favor, and truth. For the law was given by Moses, but grace, unmerited favor, and truth came by Yahushua the Messiah. Only this upcoming revelation would take them to the next step higher, and it would take a few centuries to arrive on scene. Another reason, perhaps for the reminder to mind Moshe's law, is because careful students of the Word are aware of the prohibitions against foreign worship, particularly sun worship, carefully contained therein. Romans 1:25, who changed the truth of Yahweh into a lie and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. So I ask, is the sun not a creature? And this is a hard word to pronounce. And it's hard to see. It's an 8 pica. I might be able to spell it. Ktisis is the Greek word from whence the English word creature comes. According to Strong's, BLB, it's a creation, a thing created. Here Paul clearly demonstrates that worship of anything created by Yahweh, and it would surely include sun worship, is a thing not to be chosen. And this was created during the week of creation found in Genesis 1. Yet pagan worship is so self-centered, and it's centered around a continual violation of the Word. Pagan heathens, in defiance of a supreme being not seen with the naked eye, worship what can be seen, the powerful sun giving light and warmth. Romans 1:19, because that when which may be made known of Yahweh is manifest in them, for Yahweh showed it to them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and supernal nature, so that they are without excuse. Because when they knew Yahweh, they glorified him not as Elohim, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible Elohim, incorruptible, into an image. It is unsettling to believe that the prophet Malachi was inspired to encourage believers to worship a, quote, son of righteousness with healing in his wings, unquote, as did the heathen all around, wherein all scripture prior to this prohibits even the thought. When Yahweh does command a thing, it tends to be a thou shalt not or a thou shalt. Often scripture describes events prophetically occurring without a particular endorsement on the part of the supreme being, but actually a revelation of that which is to come. In Christian circles, this is referred to as permissive versus express will, as contained in the plan for the ages. In Daniel chapter 7, we read, verse 5, and behold another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised itself on the ellipsis of it between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, rise and devour much flesh. Like the Son of Righteousness, it too rises up. Revelation 13:1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So we see this is not an endorsement of what ought to be, but rather a report, a shrewd observation of that which will be ahead, a kind of a heads up. The woman mentioned in Revelation 17, the harlotess wicked religious system is certainly not an endorsement, but a dire warning not to have anything to do with her, designed to trap Yahweh's people into a wicked, lewd religious system of bondage, death, and damnation. So to me, these are what I would consider casual readings, as opposed to edicts or enjoinments. If anything, we are enjoined against, as opposed to. Prophecy warns us this is the ultimate design and purpose of it. In Revelation 12, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. A church obsessed with astrology and astrological signs of paganism, filled with all manner of the zodiac, signs of it even as false religion had such beginnings in Genesis chapter 11, with a ziggurat, idol temple, church building filled with blasphemous images against the Most High. One known simply as the Tower of Babel, which Revelation 17 simply identifies as a harlot, false religion. And we are being invited to join or urged, I think, to abstain, to avoid. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. Pregnant with the Reformation movement, there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns unto his heads, having to do with the devil, a devil-oppressed church, as opposed to a victorious one without spot or wrinkle, church, using the church name, Ephesians 5:27, and present to himself as a glorious church without spot or wrinkle or any such blemish. Instead, she will be holy and without fault, according to Bible Gate. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, did cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for her to devour her child as soon as it was born, in short, to kill and slay, as in John 10:10, the thief cometh not but to steal, to kill, and destroy. So in the same vein, I question Malachi 4:2, a joyous promise, a stern warning, a projection for those who reverence the name Yahweh, who rightly divide the word of truth, who have a proper discernment and understanding. Surely the latter. For we who reverence his name are wary of pagan religion, guised in all manner garments of false righteousness. 2 Corinthians 2:11 said, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. 11:4. No marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it's no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Isn't it reasonable to assume, not giving harder facts, that Yahweh is giving one last heads up to his people, that a cleverly guised sun-image Messiah would be coming along with healing in his wings, just as the true Messiah warned his people regarding the exact same abomination. Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the set-apart place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let him which be in Judea flee into the mountains. And except those days should be short, and there should be no flesh saved alive, but for the elect's sake those days should be shortened. Then if any man say unto you, Lo, here is Messiah, the sun-clad Christ, or there believe it not. For there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch as if, abbreviated because it is possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, he said, I have told you before. In other words, you have been warned.